Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on Microsoft To Do. My name is Michael Nelson. I'm the owner of TLC Tech, and this is our continuing series on the Microsoft 365 ecosystem and all the pieces in there. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my monitor with you. So you should now be seeing my Office 365 splash screen, which most all of you have become used to now. Again, we get in here by going to portal.office.com, logging in, and that gives us access to everything that we need regarding the Office 365 ecosystem. Before I forget, the next webinar in 2 weeks will be on Microsoft Forms. That's what you use to be able to create polls, quizzes, surveys. There's some really cool features on that, and I look forward to being able to share that with you 2 weeks from today. So I'm going to have a couple of quick polls, a couple of housekeeping reminders. If you have questions, there's a little question pod in there. Make sure to pop in any questions you have, and please, as interactive as these can be, the better for me. That way I know I'm getting feedback and everything. So I'm going to start with a very quick, short little poll asking about how much do you use how do you use tasks or to-dos now in the Outlook application? Prior to this, I have used only tasks and to-dos inside of Microsoft Outlook. And there was one main reason for that for myself. I like to keep a very clean inbox, so I don't allow very many things to stay in my inbox, but there may be messages that I need to reply to in a week or in a few days, but I don't want to leave in my inbox because if that happens, they can get lost in there. So what I typically would do is I would drag and drop it and create it as a task. That would allow me to keep the email as part of the task, assign myself the task for a few days later, and then open up the email and reply to it then. So right now, let me see. Okay, I'm going to give you guys another second to let me know again, how much are you using tasks and to do inside of Microsoft Outlook, the application? You use it all the time, occasionally, or you've not used it, but that's why you're here today. Okay, so I've got mainly that it's been used occasionally. Okay, that gives me what I need to know there. So we're going to start. I'm going to go jump right in. So again, I talked about how I used it in Outlook. I did not move over to the web version until quite recently. And honestly, that was because of the fact that I couldn't drag emails web-based and bring them over to my Microsoft tasks and to-dos. That's a huge part of the way that I use tasks. So that was really important to me. There is now the way, and I'll be showing you how to do that as well. So that's where it came for me. Just a little caveat to know, if you are using tasks inside of Microsoft Outlook application, the Outlook application that's installed on your desktop, and you also use web-based, it will take a little while to synchronize everything together. When you first launch tasks and to do. I've already launched this, so these are my tasks that you can see. These also all, I'm launching my email, and I'll pull that over in just a second so that you all can see that. Okay, can you guys, could somebody pop in the, oh, I've got to stop the, sorry, I've got to stop the poll. Okay, so there's that poll. Okay, so now you should be back to seeing my screen. I'm going to go ahead and move over my Outlook here in just a second. Okay, so can everybody see that one right now? Could somebody pop in the questions window that you can see my Microsoft Outlook? Yes or no? Okay, so you should be able to see, right now you should be able to see the my Microsoft Outlook. Basically, all of my tasks are over here. Again, the way that I used to do a task is I would drag and drop it like this, say copy here, or I can move it, but basically I'd say copy here as an attachment, and then what you see is it creates the task, and then the email message is embedded inside of that task. So that's the way that I always did it. Now, I'm going to say no, I'm not going to save that. But if you notice over here on the right, these are my tasks. The thing about that I wanted to bring up to you is that when you first launch the web version of Tasks and To Do, if you use the Outlook application on your desktop mainly for your tasks, and then you move over to the web-based version, it has to catch up and it has to synchronize between those devices. And that takes, I've had that take, it depends upon how long it's been since I've opened it. For example, yesterday I opened up the web-based version. I was on vacation, so I hadn't opened it up in about a week and a half. My tasks inside of Outlook had changed quite a bit, and it took it about a minute and a half to get fully updated. During that time, it just kind of looks like it's hung up on the web page. It's not, it's doing all the updating and all of the gyrations in the background. So just keep that in mind. So with that said, I'm going to jump in and we're going to start. So again, how I got here, there's several different ways you can get here. You can go from your front page. You notice that I don't go in as often from here. So I have to go to all apps, and then that gives me in here that I can go into my to-dos. That launches open a new to-do window. The other way that you can do it is you can go to todo.microsoft.com and sign in. It's going to jump you through the gyrations. If you only wanted to go in for Microsoft To-Dos, takes you in this page. Now, if you notice, it's kind of grabbing all of the information. I've already got it open, so I'm going to go ahead and close that and get back over to this, the window that I already had open. So you'll notice on here, this is where your tasks live. So these are all of my tasks. I've got 78 tasks. I've got flagged email, planned, important, and then you see I have nothing on my day. So everything, when you create a task, all of them are in here. Every single task you have is going to be inside of this. You will have some, you notice that I have 78 tasks, I have 1 flagged email, 79 planned, 27 are important, and I have nothing on my day. We'll go through those. The flagged are email messages that have been flagged. And I know some of you guys use flags. Nancy, I see you're on the call, and I know that you use flags. I'm pretty sure I remember you talking about you use flags inside of your email. I have never used those until I got to the web-based version, and we'll go into that after a little bit. I'm going to show you how that works. So you can flag an email. You've got planned. The only difference on planned, and let me just create a stupid task here, is so I'm going to create that. I'm going to add that task, and you'll notice now I went up to 79, but my planned dropped down by 1, is dropped down. So the reason being is that stupid show off does not have a date that's been assigned. So it only shows up in planned if I have a date assigned to it on a date that I need to do it by. That's what tells me on planned. For you, it may go back and forth for you. For myself, I should probably never see these numbers diverge. They should always be the same. Now, the important just means that I have flagged it over here as important. I can remove the important. I can turn it, I can uncheck it, check it back up. However I want to do, you'll notice that changes the number as soon as I do. So this one, I had some tasks that were partner related. I obviously didn't want to show those on here, so I created a place to move them, and then that's just a reminder that I need to move that back after the webinar. Now, I'm going to do that today. I did leave one on here late for a reason, and we'll get to that in a second. So planned just means that you've got a date that they're due by. Important, you flagged it. The reason that you might do that is you can click in and just see the importance. You can also do the sort and sort it so that you see the important ones on top. You can set rules that say always move the flagged ones up to the top of the list. So it kind of depends upon how you work. Again, a reminder that there's always so many different ways to slice and dice this, and the different ways that you can view things. Microsoft has done that intentionally so that it works for a wider base of people. And then there's My Day. This one's an interesting one, and basically what it is for a lot of us that make lists, we might come in, we might have a list for the week, but then we come in and we do okay, this is what I want to get done from my list today. And so that's what the My Day is. So you can right mouse click on this and say add to my day. All that does is it adds it to your day. You can do that to any of the tasks that you want. The interesting thing about this one is that at the end of today, regardless of whether you have done them or not, they will drop off of my day list. It is just meant for a one-time, one-day event to say, hey, this is what I want to be done on my day. If you don't complete it, it will not be on your my day tomorrow. Again, that's a reset, and I believe that's at a midnight. If you want to take it off your day, again, you can just right mouse click here and say remove from my day. That just pulls it away from my day, but it doesn't change the fact that you still have a task. So these are the primary pieces. Again, remember, tasks is where everything is held. These are things that you can do, assign to a task, put onto a task that creates kind of a sub bucket, as it were. So we're going to now go in and navigate a task. So let's do the I'll just grab this one. So deadlines and life plan. Now, first off, you're going to see before when I click on it, you're going to see that over here on the right-hand side, that opens up a new pane. Over here now, I have the date. I can do a repeat category. I can add files. There was obviously a file that had been attached to this. This was the original email that came in. So it brings in all of that information. So if I wanted to add a date, so this was overdue yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and just show you real quick. I'm going to close this up for a second and go back over to my main tasks. So if I come in here and this was overdue yesterday, let's say that I wanted to say, actually, that's due today. All I have to do right now is say it's due today, right mouse click, bam. Now that changes the date to it's due today. So I'm going to go back to the, let me see, I'm going to create a new task. And I click the plus. The minute you click the plus, you see that it says add a task. Okay, now you'll notice though, I have to click add over here for that actually to show up. So once I've clicked add, okay, now I've got the showing how, and then I've got that stupid show off that I had created. So I'm going to click on the show how to create. Now this is kind of this is totally clean. All it is a task. I've not done anything to it. There's no information. There's no due dates. I can tell it to remind me. I can click on a due date. I can say today, tomorrow, next week, or I can pick a particular date. I'm going to go ahead and say make that due. Let's say I'm going to make that due on Friday. Save that. Friday and save. Okay, so I've got that one. So now I've got the due date. Do I want this to repeat? If you have for me, I have plenty of tasks that recur daily. So checking the backup report, make sure that the backup report got sent to me, doing some marketing things. So I might want to have it repeat daily. Weekdays, that's only the Monday through Friday. Weekly, I'd pick the week, monthly, yearly, or I could do a custom that would allow me to say repeat every 1 week or 2 weeks. It'll let you do various things. So you can do same kind of things that you can do in the Outlook desktop application. The other thing you can do is pick a category. Now the categories are tied. You can customize your own categories. You can assign colors to them. One of the things about categories is that this flows through Office 365. So I can also assign these very same categories to calendar items and to emails if I use categories that way. I don't use them on the email. I do use them on my calendar, and I do use them for tasks. The other thing is I can add a file, I can upload, attach this. So if I do this, it'll just go navigate where do I want to get that from. And I can also add notes to this. So that's how I can modify and make a task. Once I've done that, then you'll see that it shows up with the date. Right here, that has, same thing if you remember, that has notes. So that's telling me I have a note on here. If there's an attachment right here, it shows me that I have an attached file. Those are the basic things that show up on tasks. So this is how we create one, add a date, repeat, add a file, category, and customization. Final thing I want to show you, and let me go back to the, let me just grab the, okay, so showing how to create modify tasks. One of the things is you may have multiple steps that need to occur on a task. So let's say showing how to create. So my first step is going to be tell them about it. The second step is going to be show them how to do it. Third step would be remind them how to do it. So you notice now that I have multiple steps that have been created inside of one task. Now, if you notice, what changed over here is that I now have 0 of 3. You can see that that's different from the others because it's still showing me my due date. It would still show me if I had a file. So let me just go ahead and throw something there really quick. Let me see, I'll do bam, okay, I'll just do that. So now you see that I have something attached to it, I have a due date, and I have 3 steps. Now, I can't see the steps unless I click on the actual task, but when I do this, I do see my steps. So I've told you guys about this now. So I do that, it shows that I've got 1 of 3 of my steps done. I just showed you how to do it. I'll go ahead and complete that. And then at the end, I would come back, remind you that I'm reminding you how to do this again. Check that off. Now I've got my 3 of 3. It shows that I've completed all of my steps. The task is still open. Real quick, easy. The way you close it is you put a check mark here. I'm mousing over, it comes up, says mark is completed. Bam, I mark it completed, and it drops off my list. So that's how we go through completing a task. You will notice, so let me see right here. I'm gonna now go in. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is how to search inside of your tasks. So I had created that one that said stupid. So there's my stupid show off, and you can tell it searches as I'm typing. So let me see, let's do client. So I've got these that show up, and that's anything if it's inside of the message, subject line, or any of those other pieces inside the task. So it'll search everything for you. If you want to get out of the search, you just click X, takes you back to all of your task windows. So that's how you search. Final thing that has some real power to it is the sort. Right now, you see that I'm sorting by due date. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Now it's just sorting by, let me see, what am I sorting by right now? So I can sort by importance, moves all of them to the top. Those are all of the ones that are flagged as important, and then everything else is below. I can also sort by the due date. Now it flags up, that's due today, tomorrow, that'll do it in order. You can also reset the sort order, so that would be the ones that are due way in the future, going down, reverse backwards. Takes a few seconds for it to do it. My other sort options, so I've got the due date added to my day. Quite honestly, to me, that's kind of an odd one. It would be easier just to click over in my day. I can go alphabetically, and that'll go by numbers. You'll see I do this sometimes to make sure that I really notice it. The other sort that I can do is by creation date. That's kind of interesting, and I've found it, if I don't remember the subject, but I know I created it recently, that's an easy way to do it. That's the one that I had already created for you guys on the stupid show off. That's the last one. That's showing up because the other one, even though I created it, it was newer, I had already completed it. So it's not showing it on that list. So I'm going to go ahead and instead of this one, now I want to show you something real quick is right here is I don't need this one. So I'm going to right mouse click. I can also just delete the task. So instead of completing it, that was just a stupid show off. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. That's done. It gets me back into, once it deletes, oh, the joy of doing this live sometimes. Come on. Okay, there we go. So now that one's been deleted. I've still got my new task up here. Now I can also go back and stop all of the sort orders by just clicking that X. Again, you get here by doing sort. For myself, I live and die by my due dates. I am always sorted by the due date, and then that remaps it so that I've got everything showing up today. You'll notice today is in blue, and then everything else show the due dates, so that it's visible. Everything else here shows up in black for the next dates. Any questions so far on task? If you've got questions, pop it into the questions window for me. Okay, nothing so far. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about flagging an email, and I'm going to show you the why of this. So I'm going to go ahead and go in. Let me just check something real quick. Yeah, I'm good. So I'm going to open up my email. I've got, let's say, the support ticket. So this is the email I get every day validating that backups have been done. So I'm going to go ahead, mouse over this, and when I mouse over, you'll see I can delete. That tells me I can mark it as unread, or I can flag. I'm going to go ahead and flag, and you notice right here, that one's already been flagged as well. So I've got this flag. I can unflag it. That's flagged. I'm going to go ahead and flag this one as well. So I've got 2 email messages that are now flagged. When I go over, it'll take a second for the second one to show up, but the second one's going to show up in a second. And the beauty of this is that it pulls over the email message with it. You might be wondering, why am I seeing these ones crossed out? That means they've been completed. Why am I seeing these? Because I have not told it to hide completed tasks. That's an option that you can do. Most people do that by default. I'm going to go, I left it so that y'all could see. I'm going to say go ahead and hide the deleted, hide the completed ones. So right now I flagged that email. Again, remember here, it's been flagged. The other one as well, that'll catch up in just a second. So the thing that I like about this is, if you notice, when I open this up, I've got the email, and I can open the email message back up out of Outlook. This is my way. So if I've got an email that I need to take action on, but I don't want to keep it in my inbox, this is the way I can move it over to become a task, but I don't have to keep it in my inbox. So the way that I do this now is I go ahead. Now this is currently, and there's the one that I just flagged, it showed up. This is the one I need to follow back up with her on Friday if this doesn't happen. So the way that I can do that is I simply just right mouse click, move the task, and I'm going to move it to my tasks. What I'm doing is I'm literally taking out, because what happens, let me go back. If I unflag right here, I'm going to clear the flag. Now again, that's that second one. That'll go away in a second, but if I unflag in the inbox, it automatically removes it from my flagged email. The way to get it, quote unquote, copied over into your tasks is, again, you click on the flagged message, right mouse click, and say move the tasks over to my task window. So now it's in my tasks. Click over, and let me see, that was from, what was her name? That was from Perla. So I'm going to go find that task. There we go. So this one, I don't like the name of that. That's her subject line. I'm doing a house refi, and she wants to make sure that something was redone. So I'm just going to click up here and say house refi, so that this makes more sense to me. Let me see, heard from appraiser. Do this, and I'm going to have a due date of this for, I want that to be on Friday. So, because that's when she wants an email back. Now, the beautiful thing here is that I've now got this saved, and I've got the original email message. So I could delete this out of my inbox, and all I have to do is click over to this task. I'm done here. I've got it in my task. Now on Friday, all I have to do, and let's go look at this right here. So I've got the house refi. I can delete this out of my inbox, go over to here, and I can open up an Outlook. So that's going to open it up regardless of where it is. That allows me to go ahead and reply to this message. And I don't have to keep this inside. So now I can go ahead and delete the email, but I've still got the task here. That's the reason, for me, that's how I flag an email and I'm able to delete it. Now, again, a reminder, if you flag it and you don't move it to your task and you remove the flag, it will no longer show up in here. So question from Richard, does the message remain in email? Yes. So if you move it over to deleted items, it's going to know where it is. It keeps that reference. So even if you've moved it over to the deleted, it'll still, let me go ahead and do this. Well, actually I already deleted it, so good. Go there, and now I can go ahead and open it up in Outlook. It opens up the message, it makes me validate. I am who I say I am. Now I've got the message. Now I can go ahead and just reply back to her that way. So it'll take a second. I'm not going to let that finish loading, but that's how that one works. Any other questions? So we're going to move on after this over to lists. So any questions right now on tasks, how they work, how to manipulate them, or any questions on the left side here on the difference between the tasks, flagged, planned, and important? Okay, if we've got no questions there, I'm going to go ahead and move. I'm going to actually give you a second poll. This one is real. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I'm going to launch a new poll. So I want to know how many of you create lists and how often you use them. So do you do it every day, once a week, or what are lists? If you guys could just answer that for me real quick. Okay. So I've got so far using it every day. I'm going to give you guys about 30 more seconds to go ahead and answer on how you use lists. Again, that should pop up in your on the GoToWebinar icon that pops you out. That's where you should be able to answer it. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. So we've got half of you do it every single day and half of you are, yeah, what are lists? Okay, so basically for myself, the way that I deal with, for myself, I do most everything. They're just tasks for me. However, now that I'm going much more web-based and I'm going to try to stay out of the Outlook desktop application and stay completely web-based, there's other ways that you might want to organize. So remember, I said that I had some tasks that were partner related. I moved those over into a list. So that took it out of this task list and it moved it over into, so you could say these are my primary tasks that I need to deal with. These are other tasks. Now, again, I can still have due dates here. So I have create agenda. Let me go ahead and add a due date of tomorrow. But that doesn't show up on my main task list. These are lists that you can move different tasks and to-dos into different lists. So some of you may have, let's say I created a list. I want to do a new list around marketing. Bam, there's my marketing list. I can do one around sales. Okay, those are the two things I'm involved in. So I can organize my lists. I can organize to-dos into multiple lists. Now, again, if you notice when I go to move, when I go to move a task, I right mouse click and I say move task 2. If you notice, I have all of the lists, but also see how that tasks is there in the little home? That tasks view is just a list. It's just the primary one. It's the home one that you use. So you can have tasks here or in any of these other lists. So let me see, GTM rebuild, I can move that over into my marketing list. I can drag and drop that. That takes a second to move over. There's always several different ways you can skin that cat, per se, as it were. That one takes a little bit. You can right mouse click on it. Sorry, not right mouse click. Yeah, sorry, right mouse click on it and say move task 2, and then move that over. I'll go and put that into the webinar list. So you notice now that's going to decrease the count. Once it moves over, it'll decrease the count of how many items I have in my tasks, but it increased how many are in my webinars list. Now, this is where these items over here become important. Planned are the ones that actually have dates. So these are the ones I have planned for today, for tomorrow. So these views up here are across all of these lists. And that's the way that you don't lose things. So as long as you have them with a due date, you can always go into your planned and just see what you've got planned, when it is, and what you need to get done. Any questions there so far on the basic idea of lists? Okay, so got that. I want you guys to think about this. The last webinar we did was on Microsoft Planner. And if you remember, we had buckets for different, we could create buckets inside a planner, and then we could have to-dos inside of each of those buckets. Planner is set up that way for multiple people. Tasks and to-dos, it's using the same concept, it's just for you, the individual. So these are equivalent to buckets. You're just going to put a task inside of a bucket that makes sense to you. Now, the one thing that's interesting that you can do in here is you can do, if you notice, I've got this little 2 people here. What that means is that I have shared this with somebody else. And that's one of the cool things. So you can have within all of your tasks and to-dos, you can have a list of items that you share with other people. So it may be multiple people. So on this marketing one, this particular one, I have my sharing options, and I had shared that with Jack. Now what happens is once I've shared that and he's accepted it, if you notice, there's a new item on this one. Let me go back over to the marketing one that I did. If you notice, there's no assign here. But when I go over to a list that's been shared, now I have this new one that says assign to. I can assign that to me, or I can assign that to Jack. I'm going to go to, so I don't mess them up. I'm going to go ahead and assign, that one was assigned to me. I just X'd out of that, assign to. I'm going to assign that to Jack. Now it stays in my list, so I know that it's there, and I know that it's due tomorrow. And if you notice right here on the right, I can see for the first time that JR, that's been assigned to Jack. So I know that task belongs to Jack, but I own it getting done. I just assign the work to him. I still need to keep it on my to-do list or one of my lists to do the follow-up and make sure that it gets done. So that's how you can invite other people in. The way that you do that is very simple. Right mouse click, share the list. You create an invitation link. And then you can send an email. Let's see, list members. So there's nobody in it yet. I can do an invite email. That pops up a quick email like this. I would type in the person's name, send the email over to them, bam. Once they accept it, then they're inside the shared list. This needs to be people within your organization. You cannot do this with people outside of your organization. Currently, I'm sure that's something that they're going to modify and change over time. Same way that it used to be really hard to pull outside people into your team's organization. I'm sure that's going to be what they will get the setup so that you can do that as well. So again, a reminder, this is just a list. It just happens to be the primary list, and they represent that by having the little home picture on that. I got Jason not seen on the screen. Are you guys not seeing? Let's see. Okay, did I get, Jason, can you see the screen now? Can I get from one of you others? Can you guys see my screen currently? I don't know how that stopped. Jason, if you can pop into the questions window, but I'm going to assume you guys can see my screen right now. If not, could somebody real quickly pop into the questions window that you've got a problem seeing the screen? Okay, so a reminder, the lists are like buckets for Planner. Lists are a way to organize your tasks into more manageable categories. Okay, now I'm going to do one final poll, and that is, how do you use lists? Are you doing it mostly for work, mostly for personal stuff, or for both? So you should see the poll up on your window. If you could pop in there and just give me a quick vote there, and then that kind of leads me into the next spot that I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm not getting any. Okay, so there's mostly work. If I could get a couple of more responses. Okay, that was evenly divided between all three. So the reason, okay, let me go ahead and close that poll so that you guys can be back, and you should now still be seeing my second screen. So now the reason that I asked that is because if I use them for both, the way that I would do that is that you can create a group. You see over here, I've got the new list, but then I've got this funny little thing over here. This is creating a group. So that group would be work related, and I could create a group for personal. So I've got two different groups here. Now, drag here to add lists. I can take the sales, drag that to work related, marketing to work related, webinar list, drag that down to personal. So now I've got a way to keep things even better organized. Again, it's just different ways of slicing and dicing to make it work for you, how you want to see it organized. You don't have to use groups if it makes sense for you to group them. So again, you've got the to-dos, which are the actual tasks or to-dos. You need to put those into a list. That can be one of these lists or the master list, which is tasks. And then you can further organize those into a bigger grouping however you want. And you notice here, you can, if I click on here, I can right mouse, I can say rename group, or I can ungroup the lists. Those just put them back into, that took away the work. I will do it here as well. Right mouse click, I'm going to remove from the group. Now I've still got the personal. If I wanted to get rid of that, all I have to do is right mouse click, rename the group, or delete the group. So there's lots of ways you can do that as well. It's just different ways of being able to look at your tasks. Now remember, anything that you do, so let me move this back into personal. Let's take this one, for example. We'll do the marketing that's due today, and I'm gonna right mouse click, I'm gonna mark it as important, and I'm gonna mark it add to my day as well. So now I've got the star, it's been added to my day. But again, no matter where I move that task, if I move it into sales, that doesn't change the fact that it's still on my day and it's still important. Go over to sales, that's still due today. It doesn't change any of the functionality. So remember, the task, if I, let me see, let me go into the other one. No, sorry, let me go back into the tasks. Okay, so let me see. So I've got this. This is the one reminding me to move my tasks back. Again, anything you do to the task stays with the task regardless of where that task is going to live. That task can live in the main folder. It can go to any of these other lists, and those lists can be held inside of a group. None of the behavior of the task changes by where it's held here. Okay, so that was the part about creating lists. Again, you can create them, you can delete them. If you click on them, you can rename it. You can change the name, that's easy to do. I've shown you how to create the groups. And again, it's just a way to organize. And the reason that I asked, how do you do it? Is it mostly work, mostly personal? This would be a good way if you've got personal stuff. This also, by the way, like all the other Microsoft 365 applications or the web apps, nope, don't do that. The web apps there is also an app for the phone for this. So I can go into my phone app for twos and do everything like this as well. So that's what I have for that one. We talked about sharing the lists. Let me see. Okay, any questions on lists or organizing it that way? Okay, so there's all my stuff again. Okay, now, next thing I'm going to show you is the settings menu. Let me talk about ellipses. Again, there's fewer ellipses in Microsoft Tasks and To Do, but here you can change the theme. That's something I forgot to tell you guys about. Theme is just simply color. So for example, if you see here, move back after a webinar, I made that red. Sales, I could go ahead and rename it. I'll change this theme to green. The webinar list, I can make that one change theme. I can make that one orange. So you can just do that. It's just a simple way to color code if that works for you. Again, kind of depends on how you want to look at it. So, but there's fewer ellipses if you notice. Now I'm going to go into the settings by going again up to the settings wheelbar, click the to-do settings, and this is where there's some really, really cool things. I go ahead and confirm before I delete them. New tasks get created on the top. I don't move my started task to the top. I don't, when I check the completed, I don't make a sound. I do have the right mouse click menus. I do not want reminder notifications. I don't like things popping me up to do, saying, hey, you need to do that. That's just, I don't allow my email to do that, any of those. Those are too distracting for me. Then we have the smart list. That's, remember that I have important, that's turned on. Planned, I could toggle those on or off if I don't want to see them. The other ones that are kind of interesting is I'm going to turn on all, I'm going to turn on completed, assigned to me, and here's the really cool one that I like. This is not turned on by default, remember, but planner. Remember how in the different plans you can be assigned tasks or to-dos that are tied to different plans. I really like having everything I do in one place. So turn on planner, and now that's going to go do that, turn it all on. If you notice now I've got a lot more here. So go through these really quick. Completed, this is every completed task I've ever done. Now that will go on forever and ever and ever, so I'm not going to do that. These are assigned to me, and if you notice, this tells me what plan it's tied to. So we have our weekly L10 meeting. I've got 4 plans there. Remember, let me actually just go back really quick and pull up planner. And you'll notice I have I have Michael's master plan and then the L10 meetings. If you look over here, that's tied to my Michael master plan, and then these other 4 are tied to my L10 plan. I've also got everything that's in every single list. So these are planner tasks, these are regular tasks. It'll break it down. And if I had flagged emails, let me go flag an email really quick. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. When I go in here, that'll take a second. The flag takes a second to show up, but then it'll also show me that I have a flagged email there as well. So this is a way to kind of see across the entire Office 365 ecosystem to where you can see everything that if you have a task or to do inside a planner, if you have it inside of your own personal, you can see things that have been assigned to you. Remember when I assigned the to do for Jack, on Jack's view, that would have shown up under his assigned to you for him, and it would have shown that I had assigned that to him. So that is the quick overview, not so quick overview of Microsoft Tasks and To Do. Any questions? Okay. I will hang out for a couple of minutes. I will stop recording here in just a second. But if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the questions window, and you'll see that flagged email just showed up, by the way. So it breaks it down. When you go into this all view, it organizes it from where it's from. That's kind of the final piece there. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. I'll hang out for another minute. So if there's any questions, as always, feel free to send me an email with any additional questions you have. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to learn. The next one is going to be on Microsoft Forms, which is how you do surveys, polls, quizzes. There's some really cool things that we can do in there. Have a great week, and thank you much for attending.